Well, in case you missed it, Tesla stock has surged, the market cap increasing about $1/3 trillion since Trump was elected the 47th president of the United States. Today, the finance media and some analysts trying to understand what it means for Tesla. And importantly, Elon Musk's role in the Department of Government Efficiency, plus some commentary from the guys on the All In podcast on that very subject.
We've been trying to understand, crucially, whether this relationship, personal one really, between Elon Musk and Trump and the future administration will bear dividends for the business of Tesla. And you've been trying to measure it up, so has UBS.
As I've said, what's good for prosperity, growth, innovation, manufacturing in the United States is good for Tesla. What's good for the US is good for Tesla. And the Trump administration unquestionably is going to be excellent for the US. It's a dream scenario.
Yeah, I think UBS's report is very interesting today because they will sort of grant this idea that narrative-wise it makes a lot of sense that you would see a run-up in the stock given how close Elon Musk has placed himself to Donald Trump. But they really sort of pick apart some of the reasons, commonly cited for this run-up in the last few weeks. You take a look at taking away EV tax credits in the U.S., for example. Maybe Tesla's able to handle that better than some of its competitors that aren't making money on EVs, but it's still not a positive for EV demand as a whole. And so UBS is a bit...
How did I know? First order thinking. UBS, well, if the EV tax credit goes away, that can't be good for Tesla. Bro, big picture. The Trump administration is going to fuel economic growth. There'll be a surge in employment, strong wages growth, a decrease in inflation, cost of energy coming down, a big part of cost of goods, right? You need energy to produce and transport, store products. Day one, Trump's going to start driving the cost of energy down, meaning people can afford to spend more money. There's going to be strong manufacturing incentives for US jobs. There'll be a surge in employment, an era of economic prosperity. Interest rates likely to start coming down as a result. First order effect, EV tax credit goes away, well, that can't be good for EV demand. Second order, third order. If people are more prosperous, if their real income has surged massively, if interest rates are down, what do you think that does for quote-unquote demand for large ticket purchases like electric vehicles? Bro, never mind the fact that Trump's already flagged fully deductible interest on auto loans for products made in the United States. Shout out to Tesla, who makes their vehicles in the United States. Extreme interest in creating and maintaining manufacturing jobs in the US and tax incentives for companies producing products in the US, including a reduction in the corporate tax rate. Hello? Is that good for Tesla? Yes. Deregulation. If you guys ever wanted an example of how fucked regulation is, just watch how quickly Tesla could build a factory in Shanghai, in China, versus anywhere else on the planet. I mean, don't get me started on the Berlin clusterfuck, but even in the US, less than 12 months from muddy field to first vehicles rolling off production lines. Imagine that. A gigantic fucking vehicle factory in less than 12 months. Why? In China? Severe lack of regulation. A fast-moving company like Tesla going for massive scale, about to ramp dedicated cybercabs, humanoid robots, all of this happening during the Trump term, roll out robo-taxis. Again, first order, EV tax credit goes away, that's bad for Tesla. But you've got to think a bit deeper. What are the broader implications of a Trump administration, economic prosperity? What's good for the US is good for Tesla. The US is going to enter a golden era of opportunity, abundance, and prosperity. You can count on this. That's why this is so good for Tesla. The EV tax credit is irrelevant. Think deeper. And in addition to that, the fact that Musk now has Trump's ear is important because Musk has a pretty large brain. I mean, haters might argue with me from their mum's basement. But given the fact that Musk has a big brain and an incredible track record of executing on audacious manufacturing endeavors in the real world, unlike the current extremely corrupt Biden-Harris administration, which is really just the puppet for the machine, right? You guys understand that. Who completely snubbed Musk and actively been attacking him, going after his companies, weaponizing. Don't even get me started. Fuck those guys. They refuse to talk to Musk. Unlike that situation, if Musk sees an opportunity to fuel prosperity for Americans, to drive innovation, if he sees opportunities, risks with global supply chain, maybe we should look, he can talk to Trump and Trump's going to listen to him. And if Musk makes a rational, reasonable argument, guess what? It's going to happen. This is so incredibly positive for Tesla, but again, you've got to think more than 1 or 2 layers deep, as opposed to surface level, EV tax credit's going away, that's bad.
Bearish on that front. And when you look at autonomous vehicle policy as well, you don't have an actual robotaxi at Tesla, whereas, Waymo is out with a robotaxi now. And, that company was just valued at about $45 billion. So does it really make sense to put, potentially hundreds of billions of dollars on a Tesla autonomous vehicle valuation given its sort of closest comp, Waymo is valued at much less than that.
God damn it, dude. So just regarding regulation, national for robotaxi rollout, as I mentioned in the past, I'm not going to rehash this. You've heard it before, right? Sorry to the 12 new people watching, but Waymo can't scale rapidly. They have to pre-map everything in HD, spend $100,000+ paying somebody else to make a vehicle covered in sensors. It's a joke. They can't scale fast. So it doesn't matter whether or not there's seamless national legislation for quick, rapid deployment of robotaxis across the United States. Because no company other than Tesla's got to be able to do that. It only matters to Tesla. And you can't compare these two companies. Waymo's bleeding money. They don't have a viable business. It's costing them 5, 6, 7, who knows, something like that times more money to put a vehicle on roads than Tesla. And then there's the burden of having to pre-map in HD. They're not comparable businesses. But again, you have to think a few layers deep. Otherwise you go, oh, it's got wheels and people can drive it autonomously. They're the same thing. Dullards.
The problem is the price target for the next 12 months, on average, from the analysts that rate it, is well below where we're currently trading, 244.
And you know what's going to happen, right? If Tesla maintains roughly where it is, call it around the 350 mark, give or take, for more than a few months, you know what's going to happen, right? All of the analysts, almost all of them, are going to reverse engineer a reason why they should massively increase their price target so they don't look like a moron, aka chasing after Tesla stock. It always happens, whether it's going up or down, every fucking time. There are so few people who have the courage. I actually respect the bears a lot for sticking with their $120 price targets, even though their fair valuation doesn't make sense to me. At least they believe, as opposed to the stock chasers. Stock goes up, got to figure out a reason why. Stock goes down, we need to... Like, for example, I have not updated my Tesla fair valuation, aka price target, and just to be clear, it's obviously impossible to predict what investors will be paying for a stock at any point in time. That's so dumb. The closest approximation is to estimate what you think the company's worth at that point in time based on things the company's doing at that point in time, like revenue, profits, rate of growth, those kind of things, right? Often these things will be entirely disconnected. But you'll notice this pattern over and over and over in Tesla's history. Most analysts are gigantic fucking pussies. They do not have any courage and they don't want to be laughed at by their colleagues until the stock surges and then they chase after it. That's the only laughing, oh, you were a bit slow to catch up with your price target increase, as opposed to, going, hang on a minute, guys. Autonomy is going to print so much money, it's absurd. I'm looking at cash flows 5-10 years from now, bringing that back to today, a bit of a discount for risk, blah, blah, blah. This stock is way undervalued. That's what I want to see from these analysts. So back to my slight detour there. I have not touched my fair valuation, aka price target for Tesla, since July this year. Now I could fiddle a tiny bit, but the We Robot Autonomy event, there was a tiny bit of new information, but funnily enough, it magically aligned almost identically with my own estimates, e.g. cost per mile, blah, blah, blah. So I'm so surprised not. So I didn't need to change it. I'd estimated where margins would be this year. I was right that they've bottomed out. I don't need to make any adjustments there. And my fair valuation, a few months ago, people were laughing. You're an idiot, bro. What are you talking about? Right? And now suddenly, not so funny anymore, is it? So back to the point. Guaranteed, if Tesla's still around the 350 or even higher range, a few months from now, you're going to see analyst after analyst after analyst suddenly decide that they actually want to value Tesla completely differently. Not because anything fundamentals changed. Like I said, I haven't needed to update my fair valuation for Tesla for months. I almost want to leave it as long as possible just to see where we're at. And again, I'm not estimating what the stock's going to be worth at any point in time. You'd have to be brain dead to think you can do that. I'm just estimating the fair value of the company based on a range of different scenarios. For what it's worth, my base case, first robotaxi rollout 2025. My bull case was 2024. Bear case, 26.
Whereas the last price is currently 354. We've seen relative strength indexes of Tesla just show that we are overbought territory, and yet we don't seem to be able to actually bet against the stock.
Yeah, I think that's another point that UBS makes interestingly today, is just that we've seen this before. We've seen that this is sort of an ultimate momentum stock, that when it rises, it really rises. When it falls, it really falls. And I guess that's sort of befitting of Musk, right? He doesn't do anything halfway, but you really see in terms of, equities that are commonly traded with options that really sort of lead to these outsized moves. I think Tesla is sort of exhibit A in terms of stocks that because of the options activity, you tend to see sustained and really dramatic moves in the stock one way or the other.
So I actually just wanted to make a point on options. For those few of you that don't know, an option is basically a bet on a stock going up or down. You can have puts. And again, if you're like a finance nerd, don't get mad. I'm trying to explain just in general terms. You're making a bet on a stock, hoping that you can, up to 2 years out, bet the stock's going higher and make an absolute killing if it goes up. But there's a risk because your options can expire worthless. You can lose 100% of your investment if you're wrong. as opposed to investing in a stock that doesn't necessarily perform as well as you'd hoped. You still own the stock, just it's probably not worth what you'd hoped, as opposed to losing every dollar you invested in options. Now, owning Tesla stock long is the ultimate option, the ultimate call option on Elon's brain, on AI. When I first started buying the stock, I wasn't thinking humanoid robots or artificial general intelligence. Back in 2016, I'm thinking they're going to dominate electric vehicles. Little did I know I had that massive option up my sleeve. The amount of potential future products Tesla has, innovations, disruptions, I mean, bro. And it's a never expiring call option. You don't have the risk of it going to zero, like buying options for 2 years, right? I don't think this is fully appreciated, but it really matters. What premium do you assign to owning a stock like that? Another good example of this would be like Amazon, right? Amazon starts as an online store basically selling books. But if you happen to own Amazon stock years ago, a company with innovation, right? Eventually, they just start dominating e-commerce. Then out of nowhere, Amazon Web Service starts printing billions of dollars of profits, like in a blink of an eye. Then they start getting into the content of business. You guys get the point, right? Nobody would have seen that coming years ago. It's like all these call options. Tesla's a similar company in that regard. Super underrated element of owning Tesla long. Not like a bread and butter stock, for example, the Coca-Cola company, which, as we know, will just continue to produce liquid diabetes.
When you have a sort of reason for the stock to narrative-wise, go in one direction or the next.
Now, the All In Besties has some thoughts on Elon Musk's involvement in Trump's Department of Government Efficiency.
Government efficiency, and they laid it out. They want to cut overbearing and unnecessary regulation, obviously. They want to cut unnecessary administrative roles, save taxpayers money. They want to run it by founders, not politicians, helping the Trump transition team find a way to hire, quote, a lean team of small government crusaders. Team's going to work closely with the White House Office of Management and Budget. Here's the plan. First, take aim at $500 billion in annual federal expenditures that are unauthorized by Congress. Then fix the government's procurement process by conducting massive audits during temporary payment suspensions. This is an interesting playbook that Elon has done before. So basically, suspend all the payments and, hey, let everybody audit those payments. Drive change through executive action based on existing legislation rather than passing new laws. And 2 SCOTUS rulings are going to play a major role here. West Virginia versus EPA. That's when SCOTUS ruled that federal agencies can't impose regulations dealing with major economic or policy questions unless Congress...
Jesus, fuck, Jason is so dry today. Anyway, let's just skip ahead a little bit. I'm sure David Sachs will have some thoughts. You guys know what the Department of Government Efficiency is, right? Elon, Vivek, Trump, going to clean house, get rid of extreme waste, fraud, and misuse of taxpayer money, saving roughly $2 trillion out of about a $6 trillion annual budget. Over to David, giant nutsacks.
Well, that Milton Friedman clip, as great as it is, I mean, it really is outstanding, is setting expectations a little bit too high here. I mean, we're not going to be able to wipe out entire major departments of the government that are cabinet level positions. I don't think that's in the cards. I mean, what Milton Friedman's basically describing is a night watchman state, and I don't think we're going to get back to that. However, if you look right now at the opinions on the legacy media, MSDNC, CNN, all that kind of stuff, they are forecasting that Doge is going to amount to nothing. They're basically saying that the powers that be in Washington are going to reject it completely. There's somehow going to be a falling out between Elon and DJT. They're just very cynical.
Ooh, DJT.
And then you have people who are not necessarily dismissive in that way in the media, but just kind of longtime Washington insiders who feel like they've seen it all before and nothing ever happens. And so they're just very jaded and cynical. So I would say that, again, I wouldn't have the expectations of the Milton Friedman level, but I think that the expectations for Doge right now are being set incredibly low by the media and by the Washington insiders. And I think there are good reasons to believe that the results will surpass those low expectations. Number one is you've got Elon Musk running this thing with Vivek. And Elon understands better than anybody the impact of deleterious regulations on business. So he can really put a microscope on that. He's got the largest speech platform in the world with X, the largest account on X. And he's also built a get out the vote operation that he funded in the last election that he's promised to keep around and potentially expand. So his influence hopefully is not going anywhere. He's going to be able to keep using that to help keep politicians on side here.
Right?
Yeah. So that's number one is no one's ever made money betting against Elon Musk, and I don't expect that to start right now. Number two is you got Vivek, who is co-head with Elon.
So David does make an important point there. 0 people have ever made money betting against Elon Musk. You just have to have brain damage to even try. I wouldn't be too skeptical of what can be accomplished within the Department of Government Efficiency. And obviously Vivek is an absolute G, big brain, great executor. He's not just some random politician. Look at his business background, okay? This guy can get stuff done, and he's not afraid to have hard conversations. If you guys don't know some of the background, just search for the terrorist organization. Starts with B, ends in targeting people with low verbal intelligence. LM, I think. If you're confused, I'm not explaining that. And Vivek. Everyone was being forced to put out statements. Just look it up. You'll understand. He's got a massive backbone. And just skipping ahead a little bit more, Sachs has some additional thoughts on Musk and Doge.
They expected to remember. The markets were expecting 7 cuts this year. We got basically 3. We got a 50 and a 25. So it just hasn't been the cuts that people were expecting. And that's because inflation hasn't come down as much as people thought. So if Doge, working with the rest of the government, OMB, the Treasury, Congress, executive orders, can now convince the markets that the U.S. financial picture is more sustainable, we'll get credit for that. Interest rates will come down, and that'll lead to a boom in the economy. So it's all win-win if they can pull this off.
What do you know? David Sachs and I on the same page. I spoke earlier in this video, and I've been saying it for some time now. Trump's going to usher in an economic era of prosperity for the United States. Everyone's going to be winning big time. Actually, except for unemployed communists/socialists demanding things from the government. But everyone else, people who are willing to work hard, put their heads down, will be rewarded. And as I said, what's good for the US is good for Tesla because it's good for the US. Sachs is absolutely on point. You've got to understand, if government waste can be cut, if jobs can be created, if the US enters a golden era of economic prosperity and abundance, it's going to be a massive win for everyone, including Tesla. What a great contrast in today's video. We start with some NPCs in the finance media discussing some NPC analysts who are very confused about why a Trump administration would be beneficial to Tesla. First order thinking, oh my God, EV tax credit going away, that's terrible. Idiots. I mean, you can't fix stupid, right? And then you have David Sachs explaining Trump's going to usher in an era of economic prosperity, Department of Government Efficiency will be great. Next minute, beneficial for Tesla, beneficial for the US. Winning. Sachs gets it. The NPCs don't get it. What a surprise. Now, importantly, I think David Sachs and I are in the minority of people in believing that the next 4 or so years will usher in an absolutely incredible golden era for the US and obviously, by extension, Tesla. I mean, certainly some people think, yeah, it'll probably be decent. But no, I don't think people understand the scale of this. It's going to be so amazing. If you ran 1 million different versions of a simulation, all different possibilities and outcomes, right? This is the one I'd want to be in if I'm a Tesla investor. The one where Trump wins. Elon and Trump have become besties. There's an incredible public bromance going on. Trump massively respects me. I mean, bro, this is a 1 in a million situation if you're a Tesla investor. Unbelievable. I love it. Seriously, we hit the fucking jackpot. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. Plus, has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs.